So the natural state of the vagina should be around the same acidity as a tomato. Okay?
What's the acidity of a tomato? Dating a woman is literally dating 4 different women. You need to understand the follicular, the luteal, menstruation, ovulation.
Without ovulation, you're not having a true menstrual cycle. Okay? Because in order to have a true menstrual cycle, you need to ovulate, because after ovulation is when progesterone is produced.
Are painful periods normal?
No, just because something is common does not make it normal.
How do you feel about birth control?
So it is definitely a controversial topic.
And then you get off birth control and you're like, yo, I actually want a real masculine dude. This guy ain't doing it.
So that is cervical mucus.
Okay.
So cervical, nice.
We have biological men competing in women's sports. What? What? Here we go. What is up? Welcome back to the Jeremy Awakens podcast. Today, I am joined by the one and only Nicole Bendayan, holistic women's and menstrual health expert. And we're going deep into the truth about hormones, cycle syncing, feminine energy, fertility, birth control, emotional health, nervous system regulation, and what women actually need to feel aligned, energized, radiant, and connected to themselves again. And we're going to be talking about how men can use this information to show up for the women in their lives in a more powerful way. This one's going to be special. I really believe that every woman and man needs to hear this episode, because the truth is most women were never taught how their bodies actually work. And now we have so many women who are on pharmaceuticals, they're disconnected, and men don't really understand women. And it's created so much disconnection and dysfunction. And this conversation with Nicole Bendayan is about to open up, and may I say, awaken a lot of people to the truth. This conversation, it's powerful, it's honest, and it might even be a little controversial. Nicole.
Hello.
Bendayan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
This is good.
This is good. This has been a very long time coming.
Yeah. We first connected online like maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then we met 2 summers ago in Israel. Yes. And then we just spoke at an event together here in Miami. So.
And now we're here.
We're here. I want to jump right in. Before we get into your story, I want to know why so many women feel disconnected from themselves in 2026.
I think that there's been such a push toward male biology and male physiology. So we run on a male baseline, pretty much, in society in general. So when you're at work, it's based upon the male hormonal cycle that you're pretty stable throughout the month. There's not these huge fluctuations that are impacting serotonin levels, mood, energy, all of these different things. So we've been conditioned to be disconnected. We've been conditioned to think that we should be consistent throughout the month, when really we should be in a flow state throughout the month, because our hormones are fluctuating. There's four phases to our cycle, and it follows a predictable pattern. So when women are able to understand and live in tune with this, they can live in a state of flow. But when we try to push past our biology and go with this male baseline, we end up feeling really disconnected.
Yeah, that's so well said. And you said a couple really important things. First of all, going against our biology. We're living in a world where people are actually confused about the number of genders. We've been programmed, at least they're trying to program us, that men and women are the same. We have biological men competing in women's sports. What?
Yeah.
How is that even possible? How are we just going to ignore this biology? Okay, we can try and be politically correct, but the truth is that men and women are so different, and it starts with the 28-day cycle for women and the 24-hour cycle for men. Like, I feel the same energy, emotions, motivation on a daily basis pretty much, right? Women are a completely different beast. I say like dating a woman is literally dating 4 different women. You need to understand the follicular, the luteal, menstruation, ovulation. Can we talk a little bit about the 4 phases and however deep you want to go, and then we can unpack them a little more?
Sure. I'll give a brief overview. So the menstrual cycle itself, even though it's commonly known as a 28-day cycle, it's varying for women. So anytime between about 24 to 36 days is an optimal menstrual cycle. Anything above or below that is starting to signal that something's up in the body and needs attention. So we start our cycle on the first day of our period. The first day of our period is when hormones are at their lowest. This is the menstrual phase. This is usually when energy is a little bit lower. We're actually shedding the endometrium, so we're bleeding. And this is a much more introspective time. And then we go into the follicular phase. For phase syncing purposes, is the time after the menstrual phase. And this is when estrogen is rising. And as estrogen rises, oftentimes does energy, mood, motivation. It impacts different neurotransmitters, which I'm sure we'll get into a lot. And then as we approach ovulation, for phase syncing purposes, ovulation or the ovulatory phase is the few days before and after ovulation. And ovulation is the peak event in your cycle. So this is when the egg is actually released. Prior to that, estrogen hits its peak and the egg is then released, and then progesterone becomes a dominant hormone for the rest of your cycle, right? So the few days in and around ovulation is the ovulatory phase. And it's important to note that without ovulation, you're not having a true menstrual cycle, okay? Because in order to have a true menstrual cycle, you need to ovulate, because after ovulation is when progesterone is produced. And progesterone is a really cool hormone. It balances out estrogen in the body, but it is also a much more calming hormone. So it impacts the GABA receptors, and GABA is much more of like a calming neurotransmitter.
Can we pause there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because I'm like rampantly taking notes right now. This is so good. Okay, so this is another thing that I want to...
Can we finish that? That's called the luteal phase.
Yes,
so then
yes,
at least
yes.
we have the 4 phases laid out.
Yeah. I got you. Go.
And then if pregnancy doesn't occur, then estrogen and progesterone will both fall, and that will trigger a new cycle to begin. So the full cycle is menstrual phase, follicular, then ovulatory, then luteal.
Okay. Are you complete for the moment?
For the moment.
Okay, cool. So, all right. This is another thing that I think is so misunderstood, okay? Because at least in America, I believe it's 65% of women from the ages of like 15 to 45 are taking some sort of contraceptive, okay? They're taking this birth control. But what's so ironic about that birth control is that it is disrupting so many hormones. It's disconnecting women from their body, their natural flow. And the truth is that women can only get pregnant 4 to 5 days out of the month anyways.
5, yeah.
So they're
5
taking...
to 6, sorry.
So women are literally taking this poison 365 days a year when they can actually only get pregnant 5 days each month. That's 60 days a year. That means they're taking it 360 days or 300 days in excess, or maybe completely in excess. So I'm curious to know for you, like, how do you feel about birth control?
So it is definitely a controversial topic. And kind of what I always say is I believe in the access to birth control, but I also believe in informed consent. And I don't think women are given informed consent when it comes to birth control. So for me, those are the 3 criteria is, you know, the short and long-term side effects. You know how to support your body while on birth control, because there are things that you can do to support your body. And the third is having alternative options, understanding your alternative options. So for instance, a lot of women are on birth control for menstrual-related issues, but a lot of them can be managed naturally, and we're not given that information. And I also teach what's called the symptothermal method of fertility awareness, and it's up to 99.6% effective when used properly. And this is tracking your cycle based on 2 major biomarkers, which are physical signs that your body gives you in response to fluctuating hormones.
Okay.
So if you're tracking these things and know how to use it properly, it does take some time. My workshop for it is about 6 hours of content to be able to learn it, to use it effectively. But once you do understand and learn it, you can use it as an effective form of contraception, well, avoiding pregnancy.
Yeah. And this isn't medical advice.
No, educational purposes only. So avoiding pregnancy naturally. Also, it helps you increase the chance of conception because you know exactly when you are fertile. And you get this incredible insight into your cycle and the data that it provides because your cycle is known as the fifth vital sign because of the important information it can tell you about your hormonal and your overall health.
Okay. So what would you recommend people use? Like, I know there's the app Flow.
Dad, no.
No?
No. Well, okay. So Flow, fertility awareness methods get a really bad rap because it's an umbrella term for a bunch of different methods. So when you look at statistics revolving fertility awareness methods, it's standard about 75% effective, which is not as effective as we need it to be.
Yeah.
Right? But there's different types of fertility awareness. So putting your period dates into an app and it's spitting out when you may or may not be fertile is the rhythm method. And then there's a few other methods that aren't as effective as the symptothermal method.
Okay. And you said there's 2 important metrics to track with that method. What are those metrics?
So that is cervical mucus.
Okay.
So cervical, nice face. Cervical mucus changes throughout the cycle in response mainly to estrogen, but also to progesterone. Okay. And if you're tracking the cervical mucus, like for women, if you feel this kind of egg white texture, that is estrogenic cervical mucus that signifies fertility and being fertile. And like the vagina is an acidic environment. So sperm can't live within the vagina for an extended period of time unless this type of cervical mucus is present because this cervical mucus is alkaline. It also, if you look at it under a microscope, it has channels that actually direct the sperm towards the egg.
That's so cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Wow.
And it even has, right when estrogen is starting to rise, it gets this ferning pattern. So if you look at it under a microscope, it's like this beautiful nature ferning pattern. It's really cool. And then once you're no longer fertile, then it dries up because when you actually think about it, the vagina is open into the rest of the abdomen because the fallopian tubes are not actually attached to the ovary. They're just kind of like floating in there.
Yeah.
And your body wants to protect from anything going inside and actually entering your pelvis, right? So when you're not fertile, it actually plugs the cervix so nothing can get through. But when you're not fertile, it plugs it. When you're fertile, it opens slightly and it has this specific mucus that channels sperm up towards the egg.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I think that is the first time I've ever heard somebody say cervical mucus. Wow.
Hey, join my program. You'll hear mucus and moist a lot.
Okay. Okay. So that's the first thing to track.
Yes.
What's the second thing?
The second thing is basal body temperature.
Okay.
So your basal body temperature is the lowest temperature of the day, and that's taken right in the morning when your body is at rest. And women have a biphasic body temperature. So in the first half of our cycle, our temperature is very slightly lower. And then after ovulation occurs, when progesterone is being produced, it has a thermogenic effect in the body. So it heats up the body a little bit.
Okay.
So your temperature actually rises very slightly. So that helps to confirm once ovulation has taken place. And cervical mucus helps to confirm or to identify when the beginning, middle, peak, and end of your fertile window. But that's why we need both, because if we're just tracking one, we might not see the onset of the fertile window, and then without the basal body temperature, we won't be able to confirm that ovulation has actually taken place.
And women can learn the skill of really understanding how to regulate and track these things.
Yep.
I think that's like such a valuable skill, but even when you say words like vagina and cervical mucus, like it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, sure.
Like a lot of these things do. And it reminds me, everything that you're saying is just a further indicator of our body's natural intelligence.
Totally.
Like you're telling me that the acidity and the alkaline environment is shifting constantly throughout the month. Like it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And that's why women are only fertile for about 6 days of the month, because when estrogenic cervical mucus is present, sperm can survive within the body for up to 5 days. And then once ovulation occurs, the egg is only alive for about 12 to 24 hours. After that, it disintegrates. So it's the 5 days before ovulation and the 12 to 24 hour survival period of the egg that is actually the fertile window where women can get pregnant.
Got it. So like 6 days total per month. Okay. Interesting. Now, for anyone out there who's like doing this, you know, they're tracking, they're being responsible, and then they have intercourse unprotected and they think they're safe, right? They think they're safe, but they're a little concerned and they just want to be safe. So they get their girl the morning after pill. I feel like that cannot be good for women.
Okay. So the morning after pill, something that a lot of people don't know is that it's only effective for those 5 days before ovulation. Because what the morning after pill does is it delays ovulation so that the sperm can die off, pretty much. And so if you're taking it after you've already ovulated, it's doing nothing. And if you're taking it before, it can just delay ovulation, but you weren't fertile anyways. So that's why it's amazing to track your cycle. And, you know, with the symptothermal method, there is specific protocols that you take in order to make sure that you are being safe, especially prior to ovulation. But post-ovulation, when you see a 3-day rise of that basal body temperature, that's signaling that ovulation has occurred and you're no longer fertile. So then for the rest of the month, anything goes.
You're so awesome. There's so much information. Oh my gosh. Like, it's crazy. It's just, if you could estimate how many women ages 20 and up are somewhat conscious and aware of these things that we're talking about right now?
Not enough. Not nearly enough. I don't know. I think when I first started this, I started about 5 years ago. And when I first started, I had not heard about it at all from anybody. Like, it was something that I kind of came across by myself, that I went off of birth control and all of my symptoms went away. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, how have I given the authority of my health over to somebody who may not have the resources, education, or time to be able to give me health care, right? And so at the time, I had no idea. And I started doing more research, and then I was like, wait, these hormones are impacting us differently at different times of our cycle, so shouldn't we be eating in alignment with them? Can't we utilize each phase and leverage each phase for it? And so that was when I really first started. And then over the following few years, it started to become more of a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that it's becoming more of a conversation. Like you said earlier, a lot of people cringe at these words, but it's becoming a little bit less faux pas to talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that that's amazing. I still think there's a ton of work that needs to be done. And I think that the level of education women have with it is still very lacking.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even as a man, it's like, I think about how this information could have positively impacted previous relationships or even friendships, or even the relationship with my mom, or like understanding my teachers better in school. Like, oh, why does she seem so upset this week? Like, what's going on? Like, all of this information is so valuable. There's a teacher I had in 7th grade, Ms. Kosover, and she was like kind of a bitch. But there was like these random periodic times where she was so like, she was literally a different person. Like, she was super happy. She was like friendly. My friends and I would all joke. Actually, this is high school. Sorry, this is like 11th grade. And my friends and I would joke, like, she definitely like got some. Like, she's like very cheerful. You know what I mean? Like, she definitely, Miss Kosover definitely got it in. That's why she's so happy. And now I'm probably understanding maybe it was that. But there's also a good chance it was like her mood was in sync with her time of the month.
Yeah. And also, women can experience it differently. And there are certain things that impact women. So something that just like flagged me when you said that is something called PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And this is different than just like PMS that a woman gets before her period. This is when the luteal phase starts, she's having a reaction to the normal hormones. And it often got misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder because it's severe psychological symptoms. And women often will experience extreme rage, unexplained crying, a lot of irritability, mood swings, etc. And there is a huge difference between PMS and PMDD. But when you think about it, a lot of women that have PMDD, it's either 2 weeks or even 3 weeks out of the month that they feel horrible, and they get like one good week.
So it's crazy, like the type of shit that women honestly have to deal with in our society. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely some perks too. I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude. So thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen to this podcast. It genuinely means the world. And I'm doing everything in my power to bring you the best people, the best conversations, the best quality of production. And the one thing that I'm asking in return is for you to subscribe to the podcast. Whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, it makes a massive difference and it helps us impact more lives and reach more people. Word of mouth is my oxygen. So it would genuinely mean the world to subscribe, share the episode with a friend, and feel free to tag me on Instagram at Jeremy Awakens. Let me know what the biggest lesson you've learned from today's show is. And now let's get back to today's conversation. So it's crazy, like the type of shit that women honestly have to deal with in our society. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely some perks too. It's absolutely unbelievable how none of this stuff is taught. That's what like really frustrates me is you have a lack of consent. 13, 14-year-old girl entering puberty and she's just encouraged to take these things and has no idea what the repercussions are. And then 5 years later, 7 years later, 10 years later, she has acne. She has all of these other issues going on. Her gut is messed up. And doctors can't identify it because they don't have the tools to identify the real root cause of these issues. So many women are left confused. And I think there's a reason why, like when it comes to antidepressants, when it comes to gut issues and autoimmune issues, I think it's way more heavily skewed towards women. Am I right?
Yeah, totally.
Is that?
Yeah, women are twice as likely to suffer from anxiety and depression. That obviously goes up if you have a menstrual related issue. Also autoimmune conditions. I'm pretty sure it's about 80% of the people who experience autoimmune conditions are women, but it's like 75 to 90% of studies that have been done on autoimmune conditions have been done on men or male mice.
Wow.
So we're not looking at what's actually going on.
Let's talk about this because the lack of research is also a huge issue.
Huge.
If you're testing all of these things, whether it's supplements, whether it's nutrition protocols, whether it's fasting protocols, and you're primarily testing them on men, how are women supposed to actually use that data for their advantage? A perfect example of this is ice baths and saunas, which have blown up. Everyone's doing them now, right? And we're being told that this thing is great. It reduces inflammation. It increases dopamine. Okay, amazing. I felt those benefits when I do it consistently. But what about the women? Because I'm pretty sure they should not be jumping in an ice bath at certain times of the month, right? Can we talk a little bit about that in terms of when women should avoid those really high stress activities?
Totally. Yeah, so that's to the point of women and men have different reactions and impacts when it comes to stress, right? So ice baths, like excessive saunas, they elicit this stress response that for men is great and it helps them so much. For women, we have a different level of stress response that when we override it and we go excessive, it can cause a lot of issues, especially menstrual related issues. And to your point, there's also different phases in the cycle that it can be more beneficial. So for instance, in the luteal phase, doing an ice bath, especially like closer to the start of your period, might end up making you have worse cramps, might feel a lot worse. Progesterone specifically and cortisol have a really interesting relationship. So the same compound that's making cortisol is also the same compound that makes progesterone. And when we have too much stress and too high chronic cortisol, our bodies prioritize making the cortisol over our sex hormones. So it can cause a lot of disruption. So for ice baths, women don't need as cold. It's usually around, I think, like 55 degrees or Fahrenheit is like a good optimal range. Well, for men, throw in 7 packets of ice and the guy's feeling a lot better, right? So there is a huge difference with it. Same with fasting and all of that.
Yeah, that's another thing. Should women be fasting?
So at different times in the cycle, it can be, a skill that you can use, but usually that's kept within the follicular phase. And you don't want to go over about a 14-hour window, right? So how a lot of men will do that, 16-8 split or whatever. Women, it's much better to only keep the fasting window about 14 hours, especially in like the follicular phase. In the luteal phase and menstrual, probably better to make it about 16 to 18 hours that you're not fasting. I think that's right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Again, because of the stress response.
And again, this is really important to understand for everyone. Because like, again, intermittent fasting, I've used it, very powerful tool. I know women who have done it and like they feel absolutely depleted and they're lacking energy and it like makes things worse at certain times of the month.
And can also result in losing your cycle. So it's called HP axis dysfunction. So that's the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, and ovarian axis. So all of these glands are talking to each other and are like, can we release it this time? Are we good? And if you have a disruption in the HPA axis, then a lot of women won't ovulate.
That's really scary, no? Like when I've met a couple girls and, like through conversations and stuff. And I remember this one girl, like she hadn't had a period for 18 months. And I was like, what is going on? How is that even possible? So you're sharing that it's like, it's also this gut brain axis. There's some sort of connection going on.
The adrenal glands are the glands that are releasing cortisol and adrenaline. And then your pituitary and hypothalamus can regulate how your hormones release. And then the ovarian cycle as well. So it's this, hormonal feedback system that can be impacted, and it gets especially impacted by stress. And that's not just like, oh, I lost my job. Stress is undernutrition, so under eating too few calories. Over exercise is a huge one that I see a lot of women who have lost their period because, they're doing HIIT workouts 6 days a week and they don't know why they've lost their period, right? So it's emotional and physical stress that play a role.
That's crazy. Are those same women also taking birth control? Or is it?
I'm talking about women who are naturally cycling, so that are not taking birth control.
That's
birth control is a different situation.
That's insane. That like, wow, that's actually crazy to think about. That like this whole beautiful system that is the cycle can completely get shut off by doing things out of alignment with the season of the month. So whether it's like doing ice baths during your luteal phase, right? Or these crazy HIIT workouts. You see it all the time here in Miami too. It's like, I'm all about these girls crushing their Pilates and drinking their matcha, but I feel like there's a lack of understanding and a lack of balance in terms of really being able to adjust with the energy and emotions of the month.
Yeah. And why I want to mention also with how we've thought about like weight loss and optimizing our bodies is based on a male kind of dominance of calories in versus calories out. And while that's true, it doesn't necessarily apply to women the same way that it does to men. Because again, if we have, low calories, over exercise, we're stressing our bodies to a point that they're holding on, they're not releasing the fat stores. So you'll see a lot of women who will either lose their cycle or they have, they'll plateau. So they won't be able to lose weight and they'll be like, why can't I lose weight? I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. I can't lose this weight. But it's hormonal rather than just calories.
Does this also explain, and I don't want to offend anyone or trigger anyone.
No, you don't.
But I've noticed that very skinny girls usually have hairy arms. And I imagine that's not a coincidence. Is it almost like the body's way and mechanism of trying to create warmth because they don't have enough body fat?
Interesting. Okay, I went a different way with that. That does happen. A lot of people with anorexia especially experience that. The other thing that can happen is high androgen levels, which androgens are male dominant hormones like testosterone. And a lot of women will have something called PCOS, which it actually got a new name like last week, and it's PMOS, I think now. Because PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, but the cysts aren't always present. Anyways, that's a whole other tangent.
Wow.
But women will have this. And what happens here is that in a lot of cases, especially if you do have a cyst, so a woman will want to ovulate an egg, right? If that egg doesn't ovulate, then it can turn into a cyst, and that cyst will start producing testosterone. Wow. So you'll see a lot of women who have PCOS, and they'll have excess body hair, especially around the chin, the arms, the stomach. They may also experience hair thinning, like male pattern baldness through the crown and through the part.
Wow.
And a lot of other symptoms as well. But yeah, it's an interesting idea.
And this is all stemming from hormonal imbalances most of the time.
Yes, but most of the time, hormonal imbalances are not the root cause. It's something like stress or differences in nutrition, malabsorption, stuff like that that can cause issue. Insulin resistance is huge.
It's really mind-blowing to actually think about the medical research behind this. Like, have there been any improvements in the last decade in terms of these big research institutions, these big universities, implementing and integrating more women into their trials? Because it's over 50% of the population, and they're completely getting neglected. Not only are they getting neglected, but men are also suffering from this because now there's this lack of understanding in terms of how to show up in the most powerful way for the women in our lives.
Yeah, it's interesting. So women weren't required to be in medical studies up until 1993. So it's only like 33 years since women were required to be in studies. And it's funny when you look at why women aren't required or why women aren't usually involved in research studies, because their hormones play too much of a role and cause too many variables. So instead of understanding this cyclical biology as fundamental to women's health, they kind of just brush it away, and we just are small men. And it's interesting, like even the rats that they use will often not use female rats because the hormonal cycle plays too many variables. Wow. And obviously that causes a lot more, you have to do more in depth, it costs more funding, all of these different things.
So wait, sorry to interrupt you, but do rats?
I mean, I don't know the rat's menstrual cycle, but yes, they still have a cycle of some sort.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do all female mammals go through a cycle? Like they all go through a menstruation?
I believe so. Like
Really?
dogs, it's every 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah, my dog has a period every 6 months.
This is something that I've learned in the last few years too, is in our society, there's so much shame that's attached to a woman on her period. Like, oh my God, gross, she's bleeding, stay away. And it's like, it wasn't until I went to Costa Rica and did a plant medicine ceremony where the women that were actually on their period couldn't even sit in our ceremony because their energy is too powerful. They had to be in their own moon circle. And it forced me to like dive deeper. I'm like, whoa, I've never heard that before. I want to learn more about this. Like, there's so much potency and power to a woman's period. And then I started seeing women actually do these ceremonies where they're using their blood from the period and they're like putting it on their face, which I'm not here to judge. I think it has a lot of stem cells, right?
Yeah.
So is that something you've ever done?
What? No, I
No
haven't.
facial with your blood?
No.
No?
No, I would be open to it maybe.
Yeah.
But no, menstrual blood can have a lot of incredible benefits. Like it does have stem cells. It's being researched a lot more now. You can also test certain things with menstrual blood. I think there's a company testing A1Cs, so blood sugar levels, so many different things.
Wow.
The issue with putting menstrual blood on your face is not the blood itself, it's the bacteria within the vaginal canal.
Okay. So this is probably an appropriate question, but thank gosh this podcast allows all these conversations to just naturally occur. And I'm selfish. I gotta say, I'm very selfish when it comes to my podcast. If I'm curious about something, I'll just ask.
Okay.
And I only bring people on my podcast, by the way, that I'm genuinely interested in learning from. Okay. So like, I hope the people watching and listening are having a great time and learning a lot. But selfishly, sometimes I like to ask questions for myself.
If you have a question, somebody else probably will too.
Yes. So, generally speaking, let's just say, like a man, when they release their semen, right? I've been told that it tastes sweeter if the man has like a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, eats lots of fruits, etc. Mm-hmm. Is that confirmed true?
I believe so.
Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, with women, I think it's also true. They taste much better if they have a healthy lifestyle because naturally you said the vagina is very acidic. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've experienced that. Mm-hmm. But I've also experienced like where it's more delicious.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that's why.
So there's a few different things. So the natural state of the vagina should be around the same acidity as a tomato. Okay?
What's the acidity of a tomato?
I forget.
Like 7.8?
No, it's pretty neutral. But I can't really remember exactly it. But keeping in mind also, yes, of course, your diet's going to affect it. Also, if you have a bacterial overgrowth, that's going to affect it because there's vaginal microbiome. So the same way our gut has microbes that there can be beneficial ones as well as opportunistic ones, so does the vaginal microbiome, right? The other thing is at different times in her cycle, her cervical mucus is different. So usually during ovulation, she might taste a little bit different. Also smell different.
Did you just use the term opportunistic vaginal microbiome?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Nicole is busting out terms right now that I've literally never heard in my life. All right, cervical mucus, I understand. Opportunistic vaginal microbiome. You heard it here first, folks. Oh my God.
It's the same with gut bacteria. So if someone has dysbiosis, so an imbalance between good bacteria and quote unquote bad bacteria, that's what it is. But why we say opportunistic is because something like candida, which is a type of yeast, is naturally present in the body, right? But there's times where it can overgrow and then cause disruption, right? So it's opportunistic because it feeds and it takes the opportunity to grow and proliferate.
Got it.
So I don't want to say bad bacteria because it's not necessarily bad.
I get it.
It's opportunistic.
It's opportunistic vaginal microbiome. So I guess it would make sense then that an indication of like an overall woman's health would be not necessarily just how she tastes, but also like her level of moisture.
Partially.
Because there's also like women who get like very wet and women who like have a hard time doing so.
Also changes throughout the cycle, but yeah.
Got it. Interesting. This is something I see a lot of, like just observing society is, and I wasn't able to identify this when I was younger, but I felt it, you know what I mean? So
intuition.
Yeah, it was like, I remember it happened probably like 10 years ago when I moved to Miami. Like I would see an attractive woman, like physically, but I would feel zero attraction to her. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's so interesting. Like she's pretty. Why do I feel zero attraction? And it wasn't until later that I realized it was usually because that woman was just very much so in her masculine energy, probably completely disconnected from the rhythm of her cycle, disconnected from her moon. And now I realize it now, like it's such an attractive quality when a woman actually has that deeper, intimate connection with her body, with her cycle, and she understands herself better. Because that's just a level of consciousness that gives you access to so much information. You know, like women have this infinite capacity to feel emotions. They have this infinite capacity to travel through timelines. If you just think about the womb, it's like a woman has one foot in life and one foot in death, I feel like at all times, right? Or at least has that potential. And when a woman actually taps into that magnitude of emotions, it's so powerful, right? So I'm wondering for you, you said you started this work like 5 years ago, which isn't that long ago.
Nope.
So for most of your life, you were probably kind of stuck in the matrix like most of these women. I hope you're enjoying this unbelievable conversation with Nicole. And I just wanted to let you know that we just released our 28-day cycle guide. Now, I believe this is one of the most important issues for both men and women. So women can understand their biology better and build a deeper connection with themselves. And so men can show up for their woman in the most powerful way possible. And it really requires this next layer of knowledge. And my team and I created an incredibly in-depth 28-day cycle guide to really teach you the tools to navigate these different times of the month with your nutrition, with your fitness, with your emotions, etc. So if you want to get the guide, hit the link in the show notes right now. And I really hope that you take action on some of this information, because I promise you, it will transform your life. This is your body. These are the relationships that matter most. So hit the link in the show notes. And now let's get back to the podcast. So for most of your life, you were probably kind of stuck in the matrix like most of these women.
Yeah. So my story actually goes back, a typical story of a woman. When I was, I think 16, I went on birth control. And it was great for the first few years. And then I started having really bad symptoms. And the symptoms kind of just kept escalating. I went to go see 4 different doctors within 3 years. All of them totally dismissed me. And for a couple of years, I had this intuitive thought that kept entering my brain of, I don't know myself without synthetic hormones. Because pretty much since I had started my period, I have been on synthetic hormones. So like, who am I differently? Like, would my anxiety and depression be a little bit different? How would I feel? Like, what would the changes be? So I ended up going off of birth control a little while later, and all of my symptoms went away. And I started feeling so much better. My hair changed. Like, my hair was not nearly as curly, which is also just kind of interesting. My body shape also changed. I was like much more boxy previously. And all of my symptoms went away. And then I started doing the research and found all of those symptoms.
So that happened at what age?
That I went off of birth control? It was like 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 2020.
And you were how old?
6 years ago, is that what it is? Math. 25.
Okay. Because I'm just trying to think, because you said you started taking it at 16.
Yeah.
And then you had this realization 2 or 3 years later, like at 19 or 20?
No, I had the realization at 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I remember like I lived in Vietnam and I was just like in nature and like loving my life. And this idea just like was constantly in my head that I just didn't know myself without birth control. And then 2 years later, I went off.
You know what's interesting too is our society seems to label women as anxious or depressed or bipolar if they have this wide range of emotions. But it's actually those wide range of emotions that makes a woman a woman. And when you put said woman on an antidepressant or SSRI, it completely numbs their emotion. It dims their light. It completely disconnects them from who they're actually born to be. In addition to that, these same SSRIs are disrupting the gut microbiome, which is where we produce 90% of serotonin. So it's like society is almost trying to strip away the power and potency of the feminine. Mm-hmm. And that has led to so many problems because they're doing the same shit to guys.
And I think it is also, when we talk about women, it's women living in this society that we have to be consistent all the time, that we have to like push through our cycle, that we have to keep going. And yes, keep going, like 100%. We all want people to keep going. But like something like an SSRI, if you're struggling to the point that you can't function and an SSRI helps you for a period of time, like cool. But it's this thing that's the only option that we have. It's that we're not given other methods or opportunities to be able to heal ourselves naturally, that I think causes so much of this disconnection. Because I think like for myself, I intuitively knew that there was another way.
Yeah.
But I was forced to think that this was the only way. And that itself caused a lot of disruption in me. So I think it's when women come back to themselves, when we start understanding ourselves better, and also how to support ourselves, that's really where the change happens.
So you got off birth control around 2020?
Yeah.
Okay. Right around COVID.
Yeah, it was during COVID. Like right when COVID started.
A lot of people were waking up during that time. A lot of people realizing, oh shit, maybe I can't trust the government. Maybe I can't trust Big Pharma. Maybe I can't trust my doctor. Maybe I can't trust Anthony fucking Fauci. I don't know about this vaccine, Nicole. I don't know about this vaccine. I don't know about birth control. I don't know about antidepressants. I don't know about Adderall. I think it's all bullshit designed to poison us and disconnect us from our true essence. But that's for another conversation. Curious to know, when you got off birth control, did you notice a change in the type of men you were attracted to?
No. Not really. I know there are studies that show that there is a difference in attraction. And it's interesting, at least the study that I recall seeing, it's interesting why that happens and how it kind of plays out. So if you want, we can go into that.
Sure.
So a lot of women, so birth control kind of puts you in this constant state of you're in your luteal phase, right? So in the follicular phase, if you think about it from a primal standpoint, the follicular phase is when you are going out looking for a man, right? You're usually looking for a man who will have qualities that are strong and like stronger facial structure and stuff like that to be a good mate for your child, right? So then ovulation, we're out on the streets like actually mating. And then the luteal phase, we're trying to protect a potential pregnancy. So a lot of the time when we're trying to protect a potential pregnancy, we want someone who might be a little bit softer, who might be a little bit more feminine, to be honest. And the study that I recall, it showed the facial structure of those who, when they're on birth control versus when they go off of birth control, what they're looking for. And when the study showed that when you're on birth control, you're looking for someone with a little bit more feminine facial features, less structure in their jaw and stuff like that. So that's very interesting. I personally didn't find much of a difference, but
I've heard from girls that once they started getting off of birth control, they were almost disgusted by some of their previous partners. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought that was a potential partner for me.
Divorces happen.
Yeah. And it's because, like you said, if you're taking birth control and you're attracted to more feminine guys, and then you get off birth control and you're like, yo, I actually want a real masculine dude. This guy ain't doing it. And then it's like, oh shit, I just had that realization. What have I been doing the last decade of my life? It's kind of scary, to be honest, that like a woman, the same woman without this drug is actually reconnecting to like her natural desires, which is a more masculine man, which is kind of crazy, right? Because you think about what society has done the last decade. They've basically tried to destroy the feminine, and they've also tried to make masculinity toxic. So you have this very interesting dichotomy and duality of so many women disconnected from their cycle, disconnected from their feminine, and so many men who are scared to be masculine.
Yeah.
And then you have these two confused people trying to mate and connect. And it's like, we wonder why dating is such a disaster in 2026. It's because you have women who are in their masculine energy. You have dudes who are afraid to be dudes. And it's just a mess. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that at all? Like in your dating, absolutely. you feel like a lot of guys are kind of disconnected from their masculine?
I'm not dating right now, but
if you were and you're
yeah, I can see it. And I can see the fear that men have to be masculine. And I also think there is a level of this toxic masculinity that does exist. But I think that is because there's this disconnect of what masculinity actually is.
Right.
Right. And I think a lot of what society, especially like social media, is putting on, especially younger guys, to be this type of masculine that is domineering, controlling, flashy, and all of these things, that's not the true essence of masculinity.
Yeah.
Right? That's a display, maybe, but it's not the true essence. So I think that there is a significant disconnection. And I do find that a lot of men have, especially disconnected with their emotions and think that emotions are a female thing to deal with, when I think that that's totally absurd.
Yeah.
There's just like, you have to picture it as like the yin and yang. So yes, there's going to be some femininity in men and some masculinity in women. And that's a good thing. But when it becomes something that eats at someone, I think is where it's disruptive.
Yeah. I think the most important thing for men to do is be decisive, is like learn how to just make decisions, because naturally women are a little indecisive. They're not the best decision makers. I don't mean that in a personal way. I just mean that I don't think women should be in their head thinking about things all the time. It's like,
we have enough to think about.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's nothing more simple and attractive for a man to do than just be like, yo, I'm picking you up at 8. This is where we're going. Wear that cute dress. And then when you get to the restaurant, be a gentleman and ask her if she's allergic to anything. As long as she's not and she's cool, take ownership and order some food for the table. Just being decisive and taking initiative in 2026, blows women away. It's these simple things that actually restore order in the masculine and feminine.
Mm-hmm. And I think, again, it's the understanding of what decisiveness is, and it not being a controlling thing, but instead being a leadership thing.
Yeah.
Right? So taking the lead, still appreciating and respecting a woman's opinion, and then making a decision. Right? Is my impression.
Yeah. Sure, Nicole. No, I think
I don't know. I think controlling is horrible.
I think that's a really important distinguishing thing you said, leading versus controlling. And it's like a subtle thing, mm-hmm. but it's all about energy. Yeah. It's all about energy, and being able to lead with integrity and with respect is such a powerful quality. But what's interesting about that is a wounded woman is actually more attracted to the control. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because there's unhealed traumas, and that's what actually activates her. Yeah, and that's what causes these toxic relationships, is an unhealed man with an unhealed woman that get together and have these ideas of what masculine and femininity are, and they're not living in their truth, they're not living in integrity. And they're battling with each other, but it's this trauma bond, we're attached. Yeah. But it's not a functional, stable, healthy, beautiful relationship that is possible between man and woman. Yeah. I think we need more of those. Seriously. I was thinking about this. I know one of a big part of my purpose is to be a committed father and husband. I'm very excited whenever that chapter of my life happens, because I just don't see a lot of role models out there. How many couples, I'm referring mostly to men, do you look up to that are they're crushing it in business, they're living a life on purpose, they're fit, they're healthy, they're energetic, they're inspirational, they're making a positive impact, and they're also a committed father and husband. It's very rare to find someone like that. And I feel like I have an opportunity to actually embody that. And for me, that's like a massive opportunity to just create a new narrative. You know what I mean? What would you say beyond leading is the most attractive quality for a man to have? And by the way, if you're open to sharing, why are you taking a break from dating?
I'm just going through some stuff. So I haven't been dating the last year and a bit, and it's been awesome. Not like I love men. You know, I'm not one of those like anti-man kind of woman.
You're not one of those feminists.
Definitely not one of those. But I'm going through a journey that I need to kind of take some time for myself and not date for a little bit. And it's been great, actually.
That's
and
awesome.
I've like been able to connect with myself more. I think it's also, my intention is to get married and start a family, right? So with what I've been doing over the last year has hopefully like given me the confidence, structure, understanding of who I am to be able to enter a relationship that is a stable, functioning, healthy, happy relationship with, God willing, the man of my dreams.
I love that. I mean? So in that process, in that year or so process, like there's been no dates, like no intimacy with a man. Like celibacy. Wow. Yeah. Did you go on a journey where you're like, I'm setting the intention to do this for a year, or did it kind of just evolve into that over time?
It was influenced, I would say.
Okay.
It was influenced. I don't want to like go into the whole detail of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do with men and dating. It's like a totally different,
it's more
like,
of a personal thing. For sure.
But it wouldn't have been something that I kind of would do on my own, but because I was influenced in this specific way that I kind of can't date for a while, then it's evolved into this, like, actually, this is really nice. Like when it first became known that I wasn't going to be dating, it was like, oh, this is going to be a difficult thing. It has a lot to do with like religious beliefs. But now that like I've taken this time to do it, it's gotten a lot easier, and I have like a much better understanding of what I want for my future.
That's amazing, because I feel like it's so easy to just use dating and intimacy as like an escape from going deeper within yourself. And yeah, like I've had one of my closest friends, he recommended that, and I haven't done it. It sounds like extremely fucking painful and like impossible for me. He's like, bro, you should try this feminine fast. And I was like,
is it just semen retention?
I was like, what's a feminine fast? No, it's much more difficult. Like, no, if it was semen retention, I could do that. No, it's no dating, no intimacy with women, but even like no flirting, like with texting, like if you're talking, like none of that. And I was like, I was like, dude, if I could do that for 30 days, like even just, not that I'm like all over the place with my energy, but I'm like, yo, let me try this for 30 days. I did it for 30 days, which was like, I was super proud of myself, because I have a lot of people like messaging me and stuff. But he was like, listen, if it's like regarding business or like events or whatever, of course, have conversations, but like nothing beyond that. And he recommended 6 months. And I was like, bro, I'm good off 30 days. Like, I feel very accomplished. But like, yeah, that's one of the biggest things too. I mean, going into like struggles for men is, so many men are a slave right now to instant gratification and quick hits of dopamine in the form of vaping, in the form of social media, in the form of dating apps, in the form of porn. And it's really, really destructive for the masculine, because not only is it really sad that you're giving away your most precious resource without a unification of love, but there's massive shame attached to that. Like I get DMs from dudes who are like married and they're like, bro, I can't stop this addiction. And it's affecting the intimacy with their wife. It's affecting their own self-confidence. It's affecting their energy. It's affecting their fertility. Porn is the devil. Porn is, in Kabbalah, we say Satan, right? It's like the thing that so many men are falling victim to. And I feel called to support them on that journey. Like I'm actually in a process of creating this like 40-day sexual sovereignty guide.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just because.
I like that it's 40 days.
Yeah. 40 days has like a lot of spiritual significance, obviously. Because I think there's a natural, here's the thing that I think is also very important to understand. I realized after that 30 days of no ejaculation, no porn, no intimacy with anyone, I was glowing. I had so much energy circulating through my body. And I was realizing like, you know, I usually attract some looks here and there normally, but I was like, yo, these people really feel my energy. I was like a magnet. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing for a woman, by the way. When a woman is like really grounded in her energy, she has discernment. She's not super loose, giving too much to too many people, which is also very common in Miami, very uncommon in Miami. You feel that energy. Like there's a radiance to that. You know, there's like a sacredness to that. I'm realizing as I get older, it's like, oh, wow, there's something so sexy about a woman who dresses modestly, like the modern Orthodox look. Because if you think of the most valuable things in the world, we have gold. Literally got to like send someone to go mine for that, right? And maybe you'll get a little gold nugget. Then you have diamonds. You got to like go to Africa and go through a whole process to get diamonds. And then you have a woman who's way more valuable than gold or diamonds. So a woman shouldn't be uncovered and flaunting everything. You know, it's a very interesting perspective that I've gained the last year and a half is like, yo, I used to be attracted when I saw like a girl wearing that outfit or that type of thing. And now I'm like, she's too loose with her energy. She's willing to just allow anyone on the internet or in person to just get that access to her, which I think is incredibly unattractive. Like I think the most attractive quality for a woman is discernment with your energy. You're not just freely giving it away and giving access to it to too many people. It's very sacred. And when you actually understand that, woo!
Yeah, it's interesting. So the no dating started also at the same time that I became religious and started dressing modestly. And it was super interesting, that transition as well to, you know, I was always very confident and, you know, good and whatever. And not that I would ever dress like very provocatively, but like I was always like classy, but would show skin. And then have been modest for the last year and a bit. And like fully Orthodox covered. And it's so interesting, the transition within myself of like, when I first started again, same way of like dating seemed so scary, like not dating seemed so scary. It's like, oh, dressing modestly seems so foreign to me. It's like, I'm not dressing for the male gaze. And then when I was like walking down the street, like being modest, I was like, was I dressing for the male gaze? Like interesting. And again, starting to understand myself a lot more and feeling confident within myself rather than having to project something. And, you know, wear whatever you want. I'm not going to judge or say anything to it. But for me personally, it's been a really interesting journey to like, I haven't worn pants in a year. Like I only wear skirts.
Really?
I only wear skirts that cover my knees.
So cute.
Yeah. So it was like, I used to live in jeans and a crop top kind of thing.
Right.
And now it's like, that seems so foreign to me.
When did you become more religious? A year ago, you said?
So,
because you weren't Shomer Shabbat before when I met you.
So I was, post October 7th, I started keeping Shabbat a lot more.
Okay.
Right? And I would keep it, I would say like 70, 80% of the time. And then I moved back to Toronto. And when I did, a few things happened that I was like, okay, I'm going to be Orthodox now. And so have been like fully Shomer Shabbat, fully kosher, fully snoot for
What's
the last.
snoot?
Snoot is modesty.
Okay.
So I cover elbows, collarbone, knees, and only wear skirts. And it's honestly, it's felt good. It's been interesting.
Got it. Are you open to sharing what some of those things were in Toronto that triggered you to initiate this journey?
So I'm confident with it, but it involves other people and I don't want to like share their stories also. So.
Got it.
But yeah.
I feel like you're using that as a cop out.
No, it involves other people that I don't want to.
Okay.
Like, I'm a public figure. They're not.
Okay.
I'm a public figure.
No big deal. People know
But
me.
it's true. It's like if I come out and say it, then it also reflects on them, and it may or may not be information that they want.
The fact that
there.
you won't tell me makes me want to know so much more. It's kind of like the fact that I can't see any of your skin makes me want it so much more, right?
No.
It's kind of an interesting way to. That's a really interesting journey though, because obviously we have a lot of Jewish people that listen and watch the podcast from all sorts of denominations, which I think is really cool. Obviously I've had Orthodox rabbis on here, I've had Kabbalists, I've had people from all walks of life. And I think it's cool to kind of like bridge the gap, and see people who choose to get more religious. And then there's people who grew up religious and then they're like allergic to Judaism.
Totally.
And they drift a different direction. It's really interesting to see that. What would you say is the biggest benefit that you've noticed happen in your life since the last year becoming more religious?
I think there's been a lot of things. I think post October 7th, especially, I was really struggling with mental health, depression, that kind of thing. Like, I mean, we've spoken about it, but, I started talking about Israel online and my Judaism, which I'd never done before, and got a lot of horrible messages and a lot of anti-Semitism and XYZ, lost a lot of friends. It was like a really tough time. And at the time also I was living in Spain by myself. So I didn't have a community or people around me. And, prior to that, I was fine with it. Like I went to Spain to go work on a beach. Like I wanted to build my business and live on a beach. So I went, but then recognizing the importance of having real connection was something that it was tough. So I moved back to Toronto and all at the same time, like became religious and started building out more of a community. And so I think overall my security in myself, my bitachon, like my trust in Hashem, has exponentially grown. So I think that's for sure what it is. It's like I'm going to do as much as I can. I'm going to learn as much as I can. And I'm going to be this person in the world and hopefully do good things and give value to people. But it's all up to Hashem.
I love that.
So.
I love that. That's one of my favorite words. Bitachon. For me, bitachon is like unconditional trust in the Creator, knowing that every single thing that's happened in my life up until this moment happened for me, even like the most challenging obstacle, all of the traumas, all of the adversities, they all helped create the version of myself that you see today.
Yeah.
And when we have that mindset in the present moment, it's like, oh wait, why am I worried or anxious or fearful about that thing in the future when I know that God is always guiding me in the most beautiful direction possible? So it's that level of bitachon that really actually relieves anxiety and it creates more peace when you can truly live your life with that mentality and mindset. I think that might have to be my next tattoo, by the way. Would you ever date a guy with tattoos, by the way? Or is that like a no-go?
Should I show you my tattoos?
Oh, shit. How many do you have?
5.
5, okay.
Yeah. All got before I became religious.
True.
But I do have 5.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Rabbi Manis Friedman confirmed that we can both be buried in a Jewish cemetery.
Yeah. My rabbi was like, no, you're good. Like, don't worry about it.
Listen, I think it's also very important because October 7th helped this a lot, but I think the biggest problem with Judaism is the divisiveness within it, right? You have like secular, and then the Orthodox, you have Sephardic and Ashkenaz, and it's like this separation. It's like, no, we're literally 0.2% of the world's population. Why are we gonna create more divisiveness within ourselves? I don't care if you're Orthodox, that's beautiful. I wanna learn from you. I might not be keeping Shabbat yet, but that's definitely part of my journey. I know it is for sure. Like,
It's beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I've been keeping Shabbat fully for over a year, and I can't think of like not doing it. Even the other night, we had Shabbat dinner. I walked like an hour and a half back to my place because I wasn't gonna get into an Uber. I don't do any of it. It's so nice.
I'm actually you walk back late too.
Yeah, it's fine. Hashem's got me.
Yeah. As long as you stay in the good parts of Miami Beach, there's some
Even
parts.
so, Hashem's got me.
Yeah.
God willing.
This is true. Wow, we've covered so much. I'm curious to know, like, I'm just looking at, I guess this is something to ask you, like, for you, like I mentioned, I think one of the biggest epidemics happening right now in America is the amount of women who are living life primarily in their masculine energy. What is one simple thing a woman can do starting tomorrow to reconnect to her feminine?
It really starts with the connection to the body. So taking a moment, taking a breath, and scanning your body and feeling how you feel, genuinely feeling what is going on in your body and bringing attention to it. Because I think so many people in general live outside their body. And when we come back in, we have the ability to understand what's going on. For women, I'll add in, start tracking that and see how it aligns with your cycle, because you'll start to notice these predictable shifts that happen during each phase of your cycle, that you feel one way during one phase of your cycle, and then another phase of your cycle, oh, this like thing keeps popping up in my brain. I wonder why. That was a huge thing that happened to me. I was in a relationship and we were doing pretty well at that point, but we had gone through some issues. And then all of a sudden I got this flood of like something, like everything's horrible. So I start journaling, and I like pops into my head, and I flip back 30 days and the exact same sentence was written. So I'm like, oh, this is my luteal phase. You know, maybe it's trying to show me some intuition. I should have listened to it, but like maybe this is something that's a pattern. And when women start to do that, we give ourselves so much more grace, because if you are told that you have to be the same every day and you're not, and you don't understand why, then you feel like you're on this roller coaster in the dark, and you lose trust in yourself. You lose self-esteem. You lose this ability to feel yourself in your body. But when you understand that these biological and physiological things are happening, you have this different level of understanding of yourself. And it all starts with just connecting to your body and like tracking those patterns.
Wow. There's a certain type of like meditation that it's like, I can't remember. It's called like Yoga Nidra, I think. I think it's called Yoga Nidra. It's like a 15-minute like body scan where you literally, it guides you through. You can find it on YouTube, and it literally guides you through like, you know, like feeling your toes, your feet, like your knees, like everything. So you can actually tune in, because even at the Shabbat dinner, I was really doing my best to just guide people through like 3 breaths, you know? And when I watched the video back, I was like, yo, I was one of the only people with my eyes closed breathing, you know? Fair. And it's interesting how uncomfortable just being with yourself can be. And I think one of the biggest signs of spirituality and spiritual growth and transformation is a willingness and desire to spend more time with yourself, because you realize how sacred those moments are. Oh, wow. I get to just be in my own energy. I get to feel my body. I get to take deep breaths. I get to learn more about myself and how I navigate different situations and how I act at different times of the month, right? Like, such powerful data for us to elevate our consciousness. Totally. And that's going to impact everything else in our life, because our relationship with ourselves is going to be reflected with every other relationship in our life. If I'm still holding on to these insecurities and these emotional wounds and traumas, I'm not going to attract healthy relationships. Or I might, but I'm just going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck it up because I have this anxious attachment style that just fucks up everything, or I have this fear of abandonment. And it's so important to just learn those patterns about ourselves.
Absolutely. And I would also add, like, in relationships, men understanding women and women's menstrual cycles is such valuable information. So I mentioned this to you earlier, but like I started a new job, I guess, with this really cool organization that takes justice affected people. So either incarcerated, formerly incarcerated, or have family members that have been. And they mentor these guys, mostly guys. They mentor these guys through this program, and then they train them in a trade skill and then help position them in the middle class. And their recidivism rate is amazing. But something that they found was that when relationships go sour, it affects everything. So it can affect if they're going to stick with the program, with the job, with whatever. So now I'm going in to jails and teaching men who are incarcerated about the menstrual cycle. And I've met them a few times, and it's so cool how they're actually really receptive to it, because they recognize that relationships play a big role. They have no idea what's going on with women. So if they can get some of this idea of what's actually going on with women, then they may be able to build stable, compassionate, understanding relationships instead of having all of this toxic and tension.
That's a beautiful project.
So cool. I'm so excited about it.
I can't remember who told me. It was one of the girls. And I was like, what? Like, Nicole's going to be visiting high security prisons, educating men about the women's cycle?
So cool.
It's crazy too, because I think when the more and more I talk to people much smarter than me and wiser than me, and I ask them questions about relationships and marriage, it seems like the common theme is that divorce happens through a loss of true intimacy and connection. And I feel like there's nothing more intimate for partners to connect about than like your body, your hormones, your energy, your emotions. Oh, wow, you're entering your luteal phase. This is how I'm going to support you. Oh, wow, you're ovulating. Like, this is how I'm going to show up differently. If we actually had that awareness, I think it would absolutely transform the intentionality of relationships, of marriages. I think we'd see much lower rates of divorce. I think the divorce rate now is 54%. And then you have 46% that are still married, but probably at best 25% of those marriages are thriving, truly thriving. So that leaves about 15 to 20% of marriages that are truly successful. That's an extremely low number. It almost makes you reconsider, what's the point of getting married?
Does it make you reconsider it?
Does it make me reconsider it? No, it doesn't make me reconsider it. It just makes me hyper aware of how important of a decision it is. My parents have been together 48 years.
Wow.
So I'm very grateful that I have a healthy model of marriage. Now, do I want my marriage to be exactly emulating my parents? No, there's things that I would probably want differently. However, with that being said, like, they still have so much love for each other. They spend every day, all day together, and like, they genuinely love each other's company. You know what I mean? So that's amazing. But I also see on the other side of the spectrum, these guys who are like not even old. They're in their early 40s, mid 40s, and they're on like their third wife. And I'm like, bro, that's just a lot. Like, that's fucking exhausting. I don't really want to go through that process 3 different times. At the same time, I understand bitachon. Everything's happening for me. But I also think that's probably one of the reasons why I've been like very, very patient with my process. And especially recently, like very patient with the process, because I understand the significance of the decision. And I also understand that it has the potential to be like the biggest amplifier, right? Like I'm never going to be the best version of myself ever until I'm married, until I'm a dad. Like I'm playing in the little leagues right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, yes, I have responsibilities. I have rent. I have businesses. I have employees. I have all these things that, you know, are important and they take up a lot of time and energy and they're stressful. But like, bro, that doesn't compare to being a husband and father. Like I'm fucking in the little leagues, but I will be in the big leagues someday. And I'm going to fucking crush it. I'm going to be, let's go, baby. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to dive deeper on?
I mean, there's so much to talk about, right?
We've literally this has been so good.
Yeah, this has been really good.
Have you felt that too?
Yeah.
You were a little nervous, I feel like.
I was.
For the record, for anyone listening, like Nicole and I were going back and forth for a while trying to make this happen. Then she came to Miami and she's like, when are we recording? She was like really staying consistent with making this happen.
Follow up, guys.
Follow-up's important because my schedule has been fucking insane lately. But long story short, I was like, this week, which I think is your last week here, I'm like, I have such a crazy week. But then earlier today, I was like, let me see if the studio's available tonight. And then we made it happen. And I feel like it probably was a better product, seeing that we were kind of like, you know, it was like today, didn't have crazy time to prepare. I still feel like
we went into so many different conversations that we didn't necessarily prepare with.
So I do have, if you don't have anything right now, I do have like a little
quick fire.
Yeah, a little rapid fire. Are painful periods normal?
No. Just because something is common does not make it normal. It's a sign that something's up in your body and needs attention brought forward to it. So there's different reasons why women will have painful periods. But regardless, it's a flag. So when you have your period, it's like a report card for your whole cycle, right? Because when you think about it, what you're releasing during your period is what you've built up over the previous cycle. So it can give you a lot of information about your health. So if you have severely painful periods, there's a few different reasons why that could happen. A lot of it is related to high estrogen levels. And that could look like your estrogen levels are just too high. You may have too high in relation to progesterone, so it might be an imbalance. Or you may not be metabolizing and eliminating out excess estrogen well enough, right? So then you have more a proliferated uterus or endometrium that has more what are called prostaglandins, which are these compounds that causes the contractions so that you can actually release it. But if you have too many and they're stagnant, then it really hurts. So it's a sign. Anything related to your cycle is usually a sign.
Okay. Wow. Is PMSing real?
Is it real? Yes, it's very real. There's actually 5 different types of PMS, each with their own potential causes and natural solutions. And a lot of women will have multiple types. And we could obviously run through all of them, but if we don't want to go as deep.
What's the most prevalent one?
So is PMS type A, which is anxiety. And that affects about 70% of women who experience PMS. There's also pain, which is the painful periods, and water retention. So that's painful swollen breasts, swollen extremities, that like puffiness or tightness that you might feel. And those are, again, mostly related to excess estrogen in relation to progesterone. Then you also have cravings and depression as additional types.
Now, I know there's going to be nuance around this answer, but in general, what is one supplement that could be very beneficial for a majority of women to take?
Magnesium glycinate is probably one of the top. I would say like the top 3 are like B vitamins, magnesium glycinate, and omega-3s that generally help a lot of women. But magnesium specifically, so many people, men and women, there was a crazy study that I saw. I'm pretty sure it's about 67% of people who go into the ER have low magnesium. So that's just an interesting statistic. But magnesium has a lot of interactions in the body, and it is very important, and it's used very quickly. So that would be my recommendation, is magnesium glycinate at night before you go to bed.
That's super beneficial. Okay. On the other side of the spectrum, again, generally speaking, what is one habit that women are doing right now that they think is healthy, but is actually more destructive?
Waiting to eat breakfast. Women especially should be eating within about 2 hours of waking up. And again, it has the relation with cortisol and how stress affects us. So yeah, eating 30 grams of protein within 2 hours of waking up is a very beneficial thing to do that a lot of women aren't doing. They're having coffee on an empty stomach, which definitely don't do that. And they're waiting too long to have breakfast.
No coffee on an empty stomach?
No coffee on an empty stomach.
For just women or men too?
For women specifically, but men as well. It's acidic. It can affect your the stomach acid and stuff like that. But also for women, especially when it revolves around cortisol and their stress hormones.
Okay. These are a little more fun.
Okay, go.
You're crushing this, by the way. Oh my God. This is going to be so fucking good.
I have no idea how long we've been doing this.
Okay. We're wrapping up. All right. He's a 6.
Oh, okay.
But he keeps Shabbat.
He's a 8. These questions are so weird because it's like, well, what makes him a 6? Is it just looks or is it personality too? We just got to go for it.
He's a 10.
Oh.
But he's yelling free Palestine.
-3. That's just doesn't matter. Not my person.
He's a 6, but he wraps tefillin every day.
An 8.
What about an 8.5? That shows that he's committed.
You're right.
He's consistent.
You're right.
He has a connection to God.
Maybe is wrapping tefillin better than keeping Shabbat?
I wouldn't say it's better.
So I like the wrapping tefillin is amazing because it's a connection to Hashem. It's also discipline, it's consistency, it's stableness, it's hope and, want for the future. So I do like that. It's also pretty hot when they wrap it. But.
Damn, you guys heard it. You guys heard it. Wrap those tefillin. What about he's a 6 and he wraps tefillin and keeps Shabbat?
Oh. 9.
And he tracks his girl's cycle.
Oh, come on. He's the ideal man.
Okay, he's a 10, but he vapes.
Oh. It depends how much he vapes.
He's like ripping that adult pacifier nonstop. He's like, I need that shit.
No, that's a 4.
4.
Yeah.
Yo, fellas, we got to put down the vape.
It's just like once in a while you're good, but like
the adult pacifier is just so disgusting. I much prefer our hand rolled Bally Shags. We'll probably hit one after this. Holy shit. I feel like I need to go home and like study my notes. You literally just blew my mind. I'm so grateful for you. Nicole Bendayan, absolutely incredible. Where can people connect with you? And then do you have any programs, courses, stuff that people can dive deeper?
Yeah. So on socials, Instagram or TikTok at nicole.bendayan. I really have to update my website. I have one-on-ones, so I'm available for one-on-ones, and I'm hopefully releasing a few programs in the near future. Specifically, the symptothermal method of fertility awareness is like my next project, and then hopefully we'll also bring back my cycle revival blueprint. That is a 12-week program to help revive your cycle.
I love it. I just want to acknowledge you. You're absolutely incredible. So much knowledge, so much wisdom. Like I didn't know I didn't know like 4 or 5 of the different terms you said today, but I didn't want to like slow down the conversation.
Hopefully it was digestible. Sometimes I like ramble and it's just like
I think
information
my
overload.
favorites, I think my favorites are still opportunistic vaginal microbiome, cervical mucus. Guys, make sure you Google images of these things too. You know, if you really want to understand them fully, make sure to follow Nicole. Shoot her a message.
Yes.
Tag us, actually. Tag us on Instagram. Let us know what was the most beneficial thing that he or that I or that she said. Sorry. All the, you know, pronouns and genders has gotten me confused. But tag Nicole and I on your Instagram story. Let us know what impacted you the most. I'm so grateful that you made it to the end of this episode. And Nicole, you're fucking amazing.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah, it really was. Much love, everyone. Leave a review, share this with a friend, and I'll see you next time. Let's go. Boom.
Wow.